let's begin. Today we are going to look at the third main body paragraph of my analysis essay of The Alchemist. So this is basically we've kind of reached the high point of the essay because traditionally it's a really good idea for you to build your paragraphs to the strongest point within your kind of analysis or your findings as a reader, right? So if we go back to my thesis statement, which is always a good idea when you're starting work like this, is to review your thesis statement just to make sure that you're on point. So my thesis statement is Santiago's journey tests his character and ultimately forces him to transform in order to achieve his personal legend. Moreover, his progress to realization can be tracked through character development, omens, and the theme of achieving potential. Good. So I'm going to be talking about this third point here, achieving his potential, in the third body paragraph. So let's jump right into it. Now, once again, I've pre-written this paragraph. Actually, I just wrote it, but there are some issues with it, and I've gone through and added sidebar notes here. So we'll look at this as though I'm going to do revisions now. I've finished it, I've submitted it, I've got my feedback from my instructor, and now I'm going to try to take the sidebar notes and transform. Oh, that's quite a nice thing to do here because we're talking about the character transforming, and the whole point of the story is kind of being on this journey, right? And essay writing is actually somewhat of a journey as well. So there's some quite interesting kind of meta connection here between what we're talking about and what we're trying to do. But indeed, what you're trying to do as a writer is you're trying to take that first draft, use my feedback to kind of level up what you're doing to increase the power of your writing. Okay, so I'll read through the sentences one by one, and then I'll address the issues and make corrections. In the climax of the tale, Santiago and the alchemist have been captured by the men of the desert and are at risk of death. So we can see there's a comment here, prepositional choice, so we need to revise, and yes, of course, it's not in, it should be at. Okay, good. Now we move on. And now, so another thing is does my sentence topic clearly state that point of connection, this achieving of potential, right? So I don't think it does that well enough yet. So we'll address that in a second. But let's take a look. We've got this second error here, compound sentence error. So you'll notice that I've added a comma, but there's no subject in this last little clause, right? If we were to write "and they are at risk of death," then I could actually keep the comma here, and I could resolve this comment, right? The other option, so you have two options here. You can either add the subject to complete the compound sentence, or alternately, you can remove the comma. So I'm going to remove the comma. Now, the other issue is that I haven't really made that connection to my thesis statement yet. So good. So what I've done there is we know that the semicolon can be used to join two sentences that are complete sentences that are equal and that are connected, really closely connected together. So I've used the semicolon here, and then I've added one more clause, one more sentence here to make sure that that point that I've stated in my thesis is in the topic sentence of the main paragraph. And that's crucial, right? We need the connection between the topic sentence of each main body paragraph and the thesis. He will have to achieve his full potential to save them. Okay, good. The alchemist tells the chieftain that Santiago will transform himself into the wind, but Santiago does not know how to do this. So because of the nature of this essay, you do have to do a little bit of retelling about the story, right, to help the reader follow along. But at the same time, you don't want to let that retelling process take over. You want to make sure you keep your focus also on analysis. So you have to have a balance there. The boy asks for 3 days to prepare himself. This is the moment of truth, for Santiago must attain the insight to do the impossible or die. Here's our first, so this is our first triad of support here. Coelho, 2014, demonstrated the core of the challenge through Santiago's thoughts. In order to achieve one's personal legend, you must elevate yourself to your best and purest state. Page 155. Okay, so let's check out the errors here. So first of all, I've stated this is a little bit repetitive, so I would take away a quarter of a point there. And this is just because as a marker, if I remember the previous two paragraphs, I've used this verb a few times. So we do want variety in terms of the words and vocabulary that you're using. The more variety you can utilize in your essay, it shows that you're a stronger writer. So I've put a note here for myself that I would actually prefer to see the word crystallized. Okay, and then we can resolve this bad boy. Okay. Crystallize the core of the challenge through Santiago's thoughts. In order to achieve one's personal legend, you must elevate yourself to your best and purest state. So then my next comment here in the sidebar, again, a quarter point deduction. It says tighten up, choose one. So best and purest, I don't need both, right? So I'm going to remove best. I'm going to say purest because that actually connects better to the idea of alchemy, because one of the core ideas of alchemy is purifying something. So the ancient legend is that alchemists could purify lead, removing all impurities from the lead, and then it would transform into gold. So this is quite interesting because there's some sort of a metaphor going on here on a large level. Santiago's the lead, right? And he is trying to self-purify himself up to the level of being that golden state, that alchemy of purity, right? Okay, so also another note here, minus 0.25, another quarter point deduction. The note would be APA formatting, and we don't want PG, we want P. So I would just go in here, remove that. I can resolve the error. Good. Now we'll move on. This shows the truest form of alchemy, not the turning of lead to gold, but the elevation of self to the divine. Okay, that's quite an interesting analytical sentence. That's quite a powerful insight, actually, by this writer. So well done there. But notice, join these sentences as they are clearly linked. So how could we do that? This shows the purest form of alchemy. Good. So now we can resolve that. Good. Excellent. So this is what Santiago must do to achieve his highest state. First, he must convince the wind to blow so he can stare to the heavens. And maybe we want a bit more detail here, without being blinded by the sun. Then he must challenge the sun to shine more fiercely. And all the while, Santiago is piercing closer to the soul of the world by feeling the depth of his love for Fatima. And that's this little section here. My non-integral citation is basically talking about the climax of the novel, right? This is the little section where he's having this kind of internal talk with the elements that are around him, the elements of the desert, the elements of the universe, the elements of, might we even say, God, right? Because it actually finally does go there at the end, as my paragraph will show. Finally, Santiago accesses the connection between himself and the divine force of the universe. As he prays through the power of his love, he feels the connection of his soul and the divine soul of the universe. So again, we've got an error here. It's a subject-verb agreement error. How can we fix that? When we have third-person singular subject, we know that we need to have, that's right, we need an S on the end of our verb. So then we can resolve this error. Good. With this connection, and my note says here, you've used connection in the sentence just beforehand, so I would like you to find a synonym, and this would be, again, a quarter point deduction. So again, I like to use thesaurus.com. I've got that ready to go. Let's see what the thesaurus.com can come up with. So you also have to look at the definitions here, because sometimes if you're on the wrong definition portal, so are we talking about a person who aids another in achieving a goal? In this case, no, not really. Something that connects? Yes, that's what we're looking for. Conjunction, affiliation, alliance, association, coupling. Even just link might work here, right? Let's check again. Yeah, let's go with that simple version. I like it, okay? With this link, he is able to do miracles and transforms himself into the wind. So then again, we've got a non-integral citation indicating where I took that information from. And notice I've used only paraphrasing strategies here, and that's why we focused on paraphrasing, because it's such a powerful tool when you are writing your essays. Okay, we're almost there now. At last, the truth of his quest unfolds. By being his truest self, motivated by love, and by applying all of his gathered wisdom and experience, Santiago achieves a twinning with the divine. And in that moment, he tastes the purity of alchemy. He saves himself, his quest, and his future. And this is his real treasure. Now he is ready. He is finally ready to visit the pyramids. Okay, so one last point. This sentence is too long. Okay, now it's natural that it would be somewhat long because we have a couple of lists in this sentence, right? Santiago achieves a twinning with the divine, so he's linked himself up with the power of God, essentially. In that moment, he tastes, and here's my first list, the power of alchemy. He saves himself, his quest, his future, and this is his real treasure, right? So, oh, there's another list up here at the beginning, sorry. It shows kind of all of the factors that are influencing him leading up to this kind of pinnacle moment, if you want to call it that. But as I've indicated here, this is a run-on, so perhaps I've given a little bit of advice to the writer here. Perhaps cut the last idea into a simple sentence for impact. So we can easily do that by putting a period and capitalizing, and then we can resolve this issue. Okay, so there you have it. Now, I encourage you to try to follow the same type of pattern. And remember, what I'm doing there is in my main body paragraphs, you need to have a clear topic sentence that connects back to the idea in your thesis. Then you have to do a little bit of retelling, possibly, depending on what topic you're writing about. But ultimately, you move into your triads of support, right? So you've got your content idea, your citation support, then your analysis. A transitional sentence, then you go to triad 2. Transitional sentence, triad 3, and then wrap it up with a strong completing idea like I've done here. And tomorrow I will be talking about and actually demonstrating how to write the conclusion. Now, I didn't show you the writing of this paragraph, although I did it just before I started this video. But for tomorrow's video with the conclusion, I'll actually show you the writing as I do it, because this is a new type of paragraph and we haven't learned it yet. Okay, try to get your third main body paragraph done today. Submit those and I'll provide feedback. Awesome, guys. We're almost there.